When you're buying a new apartment, what are the things that you need to definitely keep in mind while buying a new apartment? In this video, this is exactly what we are going to discuss. कि अगर नया घर खरीद रहे हो, अगर नया apartment खरीद रहे हो, तो what are the things you need to definitely avoid and some non-negotiables from a Vastu point of view. Now, this video is divided into two parts. The first part where we will talk about how do you first analyze by looking at the apartment layout without even looking at directions, whether to go for the apartment or not. And step number 2, once you're at the apartment or if you're looking at the brochure, what are the exact details that you need to check to make sure that you say, okay, does it even make sense to look at this apartment or not? So now the first step, which is very crucial, is you first study the shape of the apartment. So ideally there are 16 directions that are there as per Vastu like this, and each of these directions are responsible for different areas in your life. So for example, north is linked with money, south is linked with fame, etc. Now, if you're planning to buy a new apartment, it is important that when you move to this house, all areas of your life are actually important. You can't say ki, okay, only if I get good money, I'll be happy. But what about your health, or what about your relationships? Which is why I always recommend that all these 16 directions are equally important for you to live a good, balanced, happy life once you move to this apartment. So therefore, when you're looking at any apartment layout, it becomes crucial for you to understand that how is the shape of the apartment, because if, for example, the shape is something like this, such that some of the areas are completely missing in the apartment, then that would show a complete imbalance in that particular area of your life, which is something which is non-negotiable and we do not want. Which is why I always recommend you do this first step. So if you have the apartment layouts in a form of a printout, try to draw a rectangle around it and try to take an approximate center. This will essentially help you in understanding which area is actually a little on the lower side. For example, in this case, it is this area. Similarly, if I look at this one, now over here, it is this much area. So if you see, if you compare this one with this one, out of these two, also this area is also missing. Out of these two, this is still a much lesser area which is cut. So this, from a shape point of view, this becomes slightly better. Let's look at the third one. Now in an ideal case scenario, this is something that you would want to prefer, wherein there are almost equivalent to no cuts at all. However, अब इतना easily तो मिलता नहीं है ना life में apartment. So which is why, of course, it is not always possible to get something like this, but no harm trying, right? If you can, then ideally, this out of these three, this should be your first preference from the shape analysis point of view. Once you've shortlisted the apartment on the basis of shape, then the next step is how do you check the directions for particular apartment? Now this is very tricky, right? Because you don't know, do you want to check the directions while coming inside the house or while walking outside? How do you really check the directions? Or should you be standing in the middle of the house and checking? You know what? The basic thing that you can check even as a layman, depending on whether you have the ability to go to the apartment. In case of an under construction site, probably you have the brochure that the builder has given to you. In any case, the first thing that you want to check to be able to check your directions is which side is your north. Is it here? 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 Which side is your north? That's the first key thing you want to check. Why? Because on that basis, I will tell you 3 things that you need to check while shortlisting an apartment on the basis of the directions. Now, let's say this side is north, which means when you're walking inside, your compass app shows this side as north. Now, what this really would mean is that this is your north, this is your south, this is your west, and this is your east. Listen, when you're walking inside the house or outside the house, it doesn't matter what your north or what your south is. The directions are always checked with respect to the center of the house. So even if you're checking here and if you're walking inside, you want to see which side is this, and whatever side that is this side, and whatever side that will be this side. So this is how you actually check the directions. Now in the drawing, once you have written your north, south, west, east, you want to first understand this direction, which is basically between your north, northeast and northeast. So spanning between 11 degrees to 56 degrees. Now within this area, ideally, northeast is linked with your mental clarity and northeast is linked with your health, which is why between these two zones we cannot have any toilet. You see, a toilet seat is like a disposal activity, right? Anything that you do not require in your body is something that you flush out from here. Now if any area is linked with your mental clarity and if you constantly keep flushing over there, you can imagine what's going to happen, which is why ideally I would always recommend that first check these degrees between 11 to 56 degrees, and if there is any toilet seat or if your gas stove is falling over here, these two things are non-negotiable. Do not opt for such a property unless you say, okay, the builder is allowing you to change it completely to some other direction. Do not go ahead for this, because even if you do a remedy in these areas, it's not as effective. And honestly, if you're watching this video, I'm presuming that you are planning to buy a new apartment or move to a new apartment. Now if you are going to move to a new apartment, you have an open landscape, right? You can choose any apartment that you want, correct? So which is why I won't suggest you to buy an apartment where we have to do a remedy in the north, northeast or northeast for your kitchen or toilet. Ideally, because you've not bought an apartment yet, it would just make sense to get something where this is not there. So at least the major error we are safe with. These are the first two things you will check from the direction point of view. Another thing, the third thing that I want you to check when you're checking your directions is with respect to the center, you want to check your south, southwest and southwest, which is basically this side. Now, in your compass app, if you're standing in the middle of the house and if you hold your phone compass pointing this side, the degrees that I'm talking about is 191 to 235 degrees. So that's 191 to 235 degrees when you hold a phone compass, and when you rotate like this, it'll show you between 191 to 235 degrees. Now over here, if your main entrance to the apartment is coming from anywhere over here, again, avoid such an apartment. Why? Because again, the entry from this sides. Okay, so I told you about that there are 16 directions that are there as per Vastu. Now, when we talk about entrances, there are actually 32 types of entrances, not 4, not 8, not 10. There are 32 types of entrances because these directions that I just drew for you here, the directions are 16 like this, but when I'm talking about your entrances, they get further divided like this into half and half, forming 32 entrances. Now, the entrances that fall towards this area specifically, which is actually starting from 180 actually, not even 191. You start from 180 to 235. If your entrance is coming anywhere over here, with respect to the center, again, do not stand in the living room and say my entrance is coming in this degree. Your living room might not be the center of the house. It needs to be the center of the house when you're checking. So stand in the center, check these directions, 180 to 235. If the main entrance is coming over here, get out of that apartment. Don't buy that apartment. As simple as that. So now these three things are crucial for you to shortlist the apartment. Now, once you've checked as per these steps that I've told you, and once you've shortlisted the apartment, and if you want to go for a deeper dive to understand how are the 16 zones for you, if this house is going to be worth it or not for you, this is exactly why we launched something called as a pros and cons review. Where basically what we do is, looking at the layout of the apartment, we tell you that, okay, maybe the kitchen is good, living is not as good, the bedroom is good, or toilet is not great, but we can do a remedy, or the toilet is bad, but if you shift the toilet seat, it becomes better. So we give you an exact pros and cons and remedy list, on the basis of which we give you a conclusion that okay, if you can do 1, 2, 3, then it makes sense to invest in this property or to buy this property. If you cannot do this 1, 2, 3, then do not go for this apartment. So which just makes it so much easier and clearer for you, whether you are investing in an apartment or it is something where you would want to shift later on. It just gives you a clear idea whether it is worth investing or not. And well, if you like this video, please do share it with your friends who are planning to buy a new apartment. Now, if you would like to opt for your pros and cons review from us, then just check the description below. We've given a link over there using which you can book a discovery call with our team immediately. If the link somehow doesn't work for you, then we've also dropped our WhatsApp number where you can just drop in a message and our team will be able to help you out ahead. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.